Captions are enabled and the session is being recorded. We ask you to keep your microphones muted and cameras off unless invited to speak. You're welcome to use the chat respectfully, but please remember our ground rules, listen to understand, no identifying details, and please frame your questions in the spirit of curiosity. We will have time for questions after the talk during our Q&A session. As part of Black History Month, we're shining a light on lived experience and the importance of cultural integration. Today, we will hear a powerful story, personal story, from a member of a community about their journey on making a life in Britain, the challenges they faced, the moments that mattered, and what belonging looks like in practice. These conversations help us as police officers and staff to understand more deeply, to reflect on our own roles, and to think about how we can build strong connections with the communities we serve. I'm really pleased to introduce our speaker, Richard, who will share their story of integration into British culture. Richard Adoki, popularly known as Richybongo, is the voice behind African Vibe with Richybongo on CHBN Radio, a show which seeks to celebrate and showcase African culture, music and perspectives while fostering inclusion, connection and mutual understanding within Cornwall and beyond. The show provides entertainment, education and community engagement while promoting inclusivity and unity along with diversity. Since moving to Cornwall in 2023, he's dedicated himself to using radio as a bridge between African culture and the Cornish community. With a rich background in broadcasting from Nigeria's Silverbird Television and Rhythm FM, Richybongo brings creativity, authenticity and energy to his programmes. His radio journey in Cornwall has grown into a platform where patients in hospitals, healthcare workers and local residents find entertainment, comfort and cultural connection every Sunday evening. His show got a nomination in the 2025 National Hospital Radio Awards in the Best Newcomers category in just a few months of being on air. He is a passionate community advocate, actively engages with local initiatives on anti-racism, culture exchange and youth empowerment, including plans for monthly hangouts to support teenagers in Cornwall. His interviews with NHS leaders, community champions and cultural voices highlight his commitment to fostering understanding and amplifying diverse perspectives. His vision is to make African culture an integral part of Cornwall's diverse identity, celebrating heritage while building a shared future. Richie, over to you.
Thank you so much, John, for this brief introduction. And let me just say, good afternoon, everyone, and happy lunchtime. I have a presentation to do, and I've titled it Belonging Beyond Borders, My Journey from Nigeria to Britain. It's a great honor to be here with you today as part of your celebration of the Black History Month with the theme Standing Firm in Power and Pride. My name, like John said earlier on, is Richard Adoki, though most people know me as Richybongo. I am a Nigerian-born broadcast journalist and host of African Vibe with Richybongo on CHBN Radio. CHBN is a community and hospital radio based in Truro in Cornwall. I want to thank you all sincerely for the invitation to share my story, not just as a professional or broadcaster, but as a man who has traveled across cultures, learned through experience, and discovered what belonging really means. Do I feel comfortable here? Yes, I'll say, because speaking to police officers is not new to me. Over the course of my career as a journalist, I've had the privilege to report and cover crime, security, and the defense bits back home in Nigeria. So, in a way, I'll say I know a lot about the activities of the police and other security agencies. In 2017, I was a crime editor with Rhythm 93.7 FM in Nigeria, where I was nominated by the United States Department of State to be part of the International Visitors Leadership program, IVLP, with a focus on substance abuse prevention and rehabilitation. We toured 7 states in the United States, learning about how we as emerging young African leaders can help curtail the spread of drugs and other illegal substances in our countries. At this point, permit me to address you all as gentlemen. Today, I would like to talk about my journey from Nigeria to the Britain, the cultural differences I've encountered along the way, and how we can all build stronger bridges of understanding and integration in our communities. I was born and raised in Nigeria. Nigeria is a country in West Africa, in a community where life was vibrant, loud, and full of connection. Most part of my teenage was spent in the military barracks. No thanks to my military dad, he retired after serving the Nigerian Army meritoriously. We are a people who speak not just with words, but with our hands and our eyes and our hearts. Growing up, I was surrounded by stories told around dinner tables, in markets, at schools, at church. Those stories taught me that every voice matters and that community is the heartbeat of identity. When I came to Britain, let's just in Cornwall, because I got in from Nigeria to Cornwall in 2023 to join my wife, who got a job in Cornwall. I came with excitement and curiosity, but also with that deep Nigerian sense of togetherness and resilience. I arrived ready to build a new life, to share my voice, and to learn from this country that had inspired me from afar. Remember, Nigeria, my country, is a product of the British rule. But as many immigrants soon learn, the journey to belonging is not always straightforward. There were moments of uncertainty, moments when I wondered if I truly fit in. The cold weather was one thing, but the cultural coldness was another. People were polite, but distant. Conversations were brief, and as someone from a culture where warmth is our second nature, I found myself asking, how do I belong in a place where people smile but rarely stop to talk? Let me share a few reflections on cultural construct that shapes my experience. In Nigeria, time is flexible. We say African time with pride. Event starts when people arrive, not when clock says so. In Britain, time is sacred and punctuality is a form of respect, I've come to realize. In Nigeria, conversations are expressive, sometimes loud, full of laughter and emotion. Here in the UK, people communicate with subtlety and restraint. I've learned that when someone says, that is interesting, they might not actually mean is interesting. In Nigeria, community means you can walk into your neighbor's house uninvited and still be offered food. In Britain, you book a coffee date, a coffee date 3 weeks in advance and bring your own biscuits. But through these differences, I've learned something powerful. Culture is not a barrier, it's a bridge. When we approach differences with curiosity rather than judgment, we discover the beauty of another perspective. Adapting to life in Britain taught me 3 key lessons. One, identity is fluid. At first, I tried to fit in by blending in softening my accent, choosing my words carefully, even changing parts of my personality to match what I thought people expected. But over time, I realized belonging does not mean losing yourself. It means being accepted as you are. representation matters. As a Black broadcaster in a largely white media landscape, I understood the power of visibility. When people from diverse backgrounds see someone who looks like them, speak like them, or share their story, it opens doors and others step through. There were moments when I faced misunderstanding or subtle prejudice, times when people assumed who I was before I had a chance to speak. But I learned that kindness, authenticity, consistency, slowly change hearts. Belonging, I discovered, is not something we wait for, it's something we create through every act of respect, every shared story, every open conversation. One of the most defining moments for me came when I started hosting my radio show, African Vibe with Richybongo. At first, it was just a way to share the African music, news, and stories with community, but it became so much more than that, building bridges and connection cultures. Through the show, I met people from all walks of life, British, Caribbean, African, Asians, who connected through rhythm and storytelling. The music became a bridge between cultures. Listeners will message me saying, I never knew Nigerian music sounded like that. You made me dance in my kitchen this evening. One even told me I took her from Cornwall back to Zimbabwe. All is just because I played a music that took her back when she was growing up and she remembered something. And she said it took her time for her to realize that she was in Cornwall. The music ended and she looked around her surrounding. She was not in Zimbabwe but Cornwall. Music brought the distance so close for her. And I realized this is what integration looks like in practice. Not policies, not slogans, but shared humanity through every interaction. Cultural integration is not about assimilation, it is about giving up your heritage to fit in. It's about creating a society where differences are not just tolerated but celebrated. When we understand each other's stories, we build empathy, and empathy builds trust, something essential, especially in policing and community relations. I deeply respect the work of our police officers, like someone that have covered crime, security, and defense for years. I really know what you guys do, and I appreciate every day you spend in the field. You stood at the front line of community life, dealing with people from all backgrounds. Your willingness to learn about culture, to listen and understand before judging makes all the difference. Integration is not just the work of newcomers, it is the shared responsibility of every community member to make space for others. Now you want to ask what belonging looks like for me. To me, belonging looks like it's a smile from a colleague who pronounced your name correctly. It's being invited to share your culture, not just on special occasions, but in everyday life. It's walking into a room and not feeling like a guest, but part of the family. Belonging is when you no longer have to explain your existence. You can simply be. As we celebrate the Black History Month, let's remember the story of Black people in Britain. It's not just about the past, it's about the present and the future we are building. I've been in Cornwall for 2 years, and how did I get to know the police to have them on my show? Some months ago, I and my wife were driving my son to drop him in school. There's a police station close to my son's school in Truro. We pass there daily. And one day I said to my wife, I said, I'm so curious about having the police speak to Africans. And I said to myself, if I have the police speak to Africans and other ethnic minorities listening to me every Sunday evening, it will be a great service to the community and for we migrants coming to settle in here in this part of the country. What did I do? I sat down and what came to mind, I said, the first thing that immigrants run into, the first problem is the driving issues. A lot of people don't know when to drive and when not to drive with different licenses. And I said, how do I get this explanation to cut down into the little person, their own understanding? And I searched for. Person's not. Am I still on? Yeah, she's on tomorrow.
Yes, Richie, you are. Can I just ask everyone to turn their microphones off, please?
Yeah, and I asked them different questions and see how I can approach the police and have them on my show. And I got Bev. Bev is someone with the police community, something. She was on my show and we spoke about the driving license and what to do and what not to do. And that really resonated on so many Africans and other immigrants here that you don't drive with the professional license. And that was a critical message because a lot of persons were doing it out of ignorance. We sent a message and that chain of disobedience because ignorance of the law is not an excuse. And I was now linked up to the diversity team and I got Sergeant Flo. Another issue that we all have to accept in our workplace because of the color of your skin, so to say, because the way you speak, there's what they call the hate crime. And I got someone from the diversity team to come talk to my listeners how to identify hate crime and what hate crime is. I got Sergeant Flo Scott, and the conversation what has been a repeated something on my show because people kept on asking, can you play back that interview? There's something happening. Just like a month ago, someone sent a message on a group platform that I am saying that something happened in St. Austell that some group are doing hate they're looking for. I just said I played something like this, an interview. That is the kind of curious person I am. And that is the kind of change, the radical change in the community. This show started as a result of how do we mix up as friends and family with our different tongues from different backgrounds. And that is what African Vibe with Richybongo really is. It's not a platform where we criticize what government or what organizations are doing. It's a platform where we understand each other. You're Cornish, I'm African. How do we sit down in one room? I communicate, you communicate. Though two different parts, but if we search within ourselves, which I've done with different documentaries I've done, and we've discovered that so many things are interrelated, and that is what community and culture is. So, if I have to close my presentation, I'll end with this thought. We all come from different roots, but we share one humanity. Our accents, our food, and our faiths, our skin tones may differ, but our hopes and dreams are the same and valid. We all want to be seen, to be valued, and belong. So, as we go back to our workplaces, our communities, and our team, I encourage you all to keep the spirit alive, be curious, be kind, because sometimes one genuine conversation can change the way someone feels about our entire culture. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a piece of my journey with you today. I'll be happy to take any question or hear your own reflection. If possible, as you're listening to me right now, ask for my postcode so you can send your unfinished lunch to me. Thank you all for listening, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Richie. We're just going to have a question and answer session now. You're invited to turn on your cameras during the Q&A. Please use the hand icon or ask a question via the chat. I will just stop sharing this presentation. Okay, let's have a look. Let's see what we've got question-wise. 1 second. I'm going to try and move this onto the bigger screen so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. Cool. Okay, just have a quick look through. What questions have we got? Has anyone got their hand up? Sarah, you're first up. Fire away.
Thanks for that, John. Hi, Richie. I'm Sarah Birch, and I'm the Positive Action Lead for Devon and Cornwall Police and Dorset Police. What would have made a difference to you? What would have, when you arrived into Cornwall, what one thing would have made a difference in making your journey easier in terms of that integration?
Muted, Rich. You're on mute, Richard. Oh, bear me 1 second. Richard, you're on mute.
No, I was asking, my apologies. I was asking if I should take the questions as they come, or I should wait as a group.
No, that's fine. Sarah has a question for you. What people do is they'll put their hands up in the chat, or they'll give us a question in the chat, and then I'll relay that to you. Sarah was first with a hand up, so I'll let her ask a question.
So my question is, what would have made a difference? What would have helped with your integration when you arrived in Cornwall? Is there anything else that would have made it easier for you when you first arrived?
Yeah, when I first arrived, I had an issue in a place where I worked, first of all. Should I describe it as bullying, intimidation? I don't want to call it as racism, but at the end of it, I sat down to understand it is should I say, the way we communicated were two ways apart differently. She was not understanding where I was coming from. I was not understanding where she was coming from. If all of us as human can see ourselves as human beings, irrespective of where we're coming from. People come in here to settle and to live and work. That does not take the fact that they are human. Yeah. They've left a lot of things at home, and they've come to live. They are not coming here to take your job, like what she was referring to. They're not coming here to oppress you. No, we just want to live as one. I think if we understand, that is why I tell people that learn a lot about people. If you sit down and see the way things, I have to say again, African Vibe is an outshoot of that incident, because I needed a platform for the Cornish people to come to my show to explain to Africans what they mean when they say this word, and to Africa, and for Africans to also explain, because the way we interact is different from the way the British people interact. Two different things. There's some that will say hello with a smile, while back home in Nigeria I can just, hey, how you doing? How you doing? Shout and all that. So the misunderstanding, if we can really understand each other, it will be a better world for all of us.
Thank you. Thanks, Richie.
Richie, a message in the chat. As an immigrant from South Africa, I was wondering if you would touch on the huge adjustment the weather is here.
Say again, John.
I said, as an immigrant from South Africa, I was wondering if you would touch on the huge adjustment the weather here is.
Is it saying I am an immigrant from Africa? I'm from South Africa, or? So
this is Matthew in the chat has asked, as an immigrant from South Africa, Matthew obviously is an immigrant from South Africa, I was wondering if you would touch on the huge adjustment that the weather is here.
Yes, but I'm from Nigeria. If he's saying that as an immigrant from South Africa, I am from Nigeria. Yes, I knew about the British weather because as a journalist, I've traveled to different countries, but I wasn't prepared for what I saw down here in Cornwall. Cold are different.
So Jazz has asked, you talked about your experiences of British culture can sometimes be that we don't talk, or when we do, that it's at surface level. What advice would you give to the majority of us on this? Do you have any techniques on how you get past the surface level in conversation? I'd love to learn your insights on this.
Yeah, like when I say the British people don't talk, I don't really mean because we have a culture. Should I say we Africans and most especially we Nigerians, we're loud. If we see 3 or 4 Nigerians talking, you think we are fighting or we're quarreling because we talk aloud, but it's just friendship. Smiling to say hello without stopping to talk to someone is a culture, is a way of life that you've lived with for years. It will not be in my own place to come tell you to change it, but it's just all about understanding. If we could explain to each other, we see maybe the first time, and you see, because some people see it as if he doesn't want to talk to me, she doesn't want to say, I was saying hello, she just smiled and this. If like I have a platform that I want to start for teenagers to explain things to them because these are people that goes to school, they mix up with the young ones, and if you have to teach people things, you catch them young. Those are the places that cultural differences should be exchanged. Once the children pick that thing up, they'll go home and tell the parents. That smile that he or she smiled at you is not ignoring you. He wasn't ignoring you. It's just a way of saying hello. Back home, when we both sit down and explain just the way we are doing now, I've told you that back in Nigeria, if 4 or 3 people are talking together and we're shouting, does not mean that we are fighting. You don't need to call the police to come settle us. It's just a way of communication. We are happy people. We are loud noise making people. If we all understand each other, that should be part of our induction. Once I say hello to you and we sit down to talk, I'll tell you if you hear me shouting, it doesn't mean that I'm rude to you. And you say, if you see me smile tomorrow when you say hi, doesn't mean. Let's communicate and tell ourselves who we really are.
Thank you, Rich. We have a hands up from Sarah.
Hi, Richie. I've switched on my mic and then switched off my camera. Let's start again. I'll try and get my camera back on. There we go. I had a lovely dream last night. I used to live in Kenya and I woke up having a dream where I was in Technicolor and it was warm and beautiful. And then I woke up to the greyness this morning. So it did resonate with me what you were saying around the weather. But one of the questions I've got is, you mentioned about the experience you had when you first came and you didn't want to call it racism. And I wondered, as part of your community program and your liaison with the communities that you work with, is there a hesitancy to call out sort of microaggressions or racism? And do you give any advice on your community channel around what to do? I mean, is it a topic that people come to you and talk about? Is it a feature of your program? And what would your advice be?
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, I do, but it's not something that I push in the front burner to make it an issue. I have like the Black Voices Cornwall. Black Voices Cornwall is an anti-racist organization. They are based here in Cornwall. They know how to go about. I bring in experts to come speak about racism. Not until I started African Vibe and I had them on my show explain what racism is to me and my listeners. I never knew. At first, I thought racism is just because you're black, and I was made to understand that even between the ones we call the whites, there are racism also. So I bring in experts from the Black Voices Cornwall, experts from the community to come talk about different hate crimes like racism and all that. Just like I said, I had Sergeant Flo Linscott from the diversity team to come speak about hate crime. He defined what hate crime is to the lowest level understanding of everybody and how to identify what hate crime really is. And when I had John on my show, John also did a good work on in that regard because as a journalist, I'm trained now. We're talking about positive action. I was asking him what positive action really is and how Africans and other ethnic minorities can benefit. I know as a police officer, you are not trained for one role. You multitask and you have understanding. So I took him on other issues, and it's just to bring in experts to come explain. On my own, if I start saying everything I know is personal opinion, but when the expert speaks, they break it down for all to understand. Is that all right, Sarah?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. Lovely talk. Thank you.
I feel honoured to be called an expert. I'll take that every day of the week. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing names. Honorin, have I got that right?
Yes, it's Honorine. Thank you.
Honorine.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Richie, lovely to hear you. I'm Honorine. I'm from Cameroon, next door to your country. My question is, you mentioned earlier that people, when you came to get to know the British people were polite but distant. Did you already know about this before you came? For example, you said your wife was already here. Had she told you that this is what you what to expect? And did you believe her?
Actually, you know, what we say in the movie is different from reality. To be truthful and honest, she never told me that part. She never told me that part that you walk and you just smile and they won't wave at you. Everybody is busy. I know that the British people are always on the fast lane, walking fast and all that for movies that we've seen. But actually, I never expected that you sit down with someone smiling and the next minute the hi is just the wink of an eye or hello and all that. I never expected that, but he came, it happened, and I just have to adjust with time. Congratulations once again on your elections.
we're hoping that it's going to change slightly. And on the other side, now that you know what it's like here, do you pass on the information to your fellow countrymen and women who will be coming over? And do they believe you? Would your family believe you if you tell them? Or the young people, would they believe you if you tell them that they're going to have to come here and do some work in trying to get people to open up to them?
Yes, that is what we do on African Vibe with Richybongo. The program, the radio show is not just listen around Cornwall alone, or should I say Truro. Like if you go to Google now and you just type Richard Edoki, last week I was on the news, like 3 or 4 newspapers back home in my country, Nigeria, flagged me when I was honored. I was the mayor of Plymouth presented an award to me for what some Nigerians in Plymouth celebrated independence, 65th independence their anniversary, and I was honored. If you go back to papers in Nigerians, they carried it. So the program is not just listen here in Cornwall. Online, you can listen. And when I traveled to cover the last presidential election in the United States last November, I was shocked to see people listening to my program. People wake up, the different time zone. People wake up in the middle of the night just to listen to me. What are we trying to pass is a message. I was not aware when I came. Does not mean that you listening to me should not be aware. My neighbor should know what I went through. My distant friend should know what I went through and start preparing for his own time. So the program is just, if there's a problem and there's a solution, we share. So people outside, people listening to us can learn. Just like I'm always going back to the hate crime, and if only I could explain what just that interview, 35-minute interview I had with Sergeant Flo, what it has solved. People cried that such is happening. Where do they report such? Where do they report such? I posted the link of the interview I had, and they listened and they knew who to call, who to run to, and all that. That is the kind of message we are passing on African Vibe with Chibongo. You don't know, if you listen, something will get to you. There's a message every Sunday, and if you miss an edition, there's a way you go back to listen. In all, let me just frame it this way. The program is just like a platform for integration for all those coming to this part of the country. What you don't know, you learn from it. Like there's what we called, like some months ago, the certificate of sponsorship scam. As an African, I know you understand what I'm talking about. That people were buying certificates of sponsorship to come into the United Kingdom to work, and they'll get here after spending thousands of pounds to get here, and they discover that there's no job. They're stuck here, and the next thing the Home Office is giving them days to go back. I brought an expert in it. I brought a police officer to come explain, and I start them to explain the process, the right way to get into this. And the advice came, you don't just give someone your money. Everything that is happening here, one thing I've noticed since I came here, everything you need to do in this country is online. You don't need a third party or an agent that will bill you huge amount to get something. Everything is online. That is the kind of message we pass. If the code is very cold and it's freezing, you need to dress up right. We'll tell you what, we have had a weatherman on my show last winter. When the winter was coming, I had him on my show to come talk to people of my color how to dress during the winter period, because someone might just come with what I'm putting on, Babariga, Agbada, and start walking while everybody is shivering with fur coats. We try to teach them this is how you dress, this is how you feed people of your color. You need these vitamins, and all that. African Vibe is a platform where we educate, we inform, and we entertain. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Very informative.
We have a question from Paul. When I lived in Leeds and in Germany, I had many friends from different cultures, which I really enjoyed. In Devon, I have a limited friendship group in terms of diversity, especially as I work for the police. Do you have any tips on rectifying this?
If I want to understand the question very well, is it your relation in working with the police?
Let's have a look.
Sorry, Richie. Yeah. So, yeah, I work with the police. So, and as you're probably aware, we have quite a low diverse workforce in terms of diversity. It's generally white people from England. There are a few exceptions. And when I lived abroad, I had lots of different friends from all sorts of different cultures. It just naturally had friends from Zimbabwe, from Kenya, from India, and obviously Germany and Turkey. And in Devon, I don't naturally meet people from other cultures. I just wondered, was there anything that you could suggest for me so that I can? I've got my nieces and nephews are from Ghana, but that's about, and I've got a friend from India, but generally it's all white people that I hang out with, and I'd like it to not be the case.
Yeah,
but it's a bit weird to just
on...
approach people and say, "Oh, you look like you might be from Nigeria. Can we be friends?" That's not how it works, is it?
Yeah, it's not how it works, but I don't know the population of people of colors here or people from different races, but from the interviews I've done 7, 8 years ago, I heard that in Cornwall there were just few blacks. There were just few black people that, to the extent that if they see each other, they run to each other and they shout, hug each other. Like I tell people that Cornwall is a growing African population. People are trooping in here to this part of the country to live and work now. And it's just only natural that we'll be friends. A little smile, handshake, introduction, you can start friendship. Everybody's going through a lot. We all understand health, financials, all this one. Just if you stop by and just talk with somebody, hi, can we be friends? It's a direct yes or no. And that is how it starts. From just hello, you'll be friends. And from day one to the next day, I feel where the radio station I'm doing all this is a community radio. We're all volunteers in there. And I'm the only Black person among all of them. What did I do? I brought in something that I wanted to unite the community. But first I said, do they like me in this radio? I'm the only different person. And I made friends with all of them. How did I do it? The first day we had a social gathering. I dressed up in my own native attire, and they all love what I was putting on. And they came to me and said, "Oh, I love what you're doing. What's your name? My name is Richard. I'm from Nigeria. I'm from this one." We are friends. So from one communication, you can be, there are people around you, you might be saying, if I go to them, it will be difficult, but just give it a push.
Yeah, thank you, Richie.
Cher, I believe you've got a question.
I do, thank you. Hi, Richie. I'm Cher. I work with John in the Positive Action team. And I was just wondering if you have any advice when it comes to breaking down barriers to encourage young Black people to consider policing as a career choice.
Yes, I discussed that with John, and it's part of my program that I'm setting up for the teens. I encourage people to volunteer, even if it's not something you want to go into. Look for a way and volunteer. Just like some days ago, a Kenya was introduced into a cultural platform that I belong to, and is your colleague. And the way he was received, because we all feel as Africans, it doesn't concern us, our security, who is guiding us and who is protecting us. But when he was introduced, the message went around the community that, oh, actually, there's a Kenyan, is someone from Africa that is in Devon and Cornwall police. That, in my view, I'll get him on my show to come share his experience. The process is on, we're exchanging email. I'll get him on my show to come talk to the people to see how it's been for him and how he's been able to break barriers. That will encourage people. After my interview with John, I've repeated that interview 2 or 3 times. People want to know the process. It's just for us to keep eating, go to community meetings, and just tell them the importance. We are coming from a background that, should I say, they say police is your friend, but back home, if you tell them that, they'll just say it's a slogan, because some people are scared once they see the police, when they see policemen. Back home in Nigeria, is this part of the world that have come, and I'm not saying policemen with guns. I'm not saying policemen with pistols. If you go back home to Nigeria, you see a normal policeman has his AK-47 rifle, well loaded, and is walking, and people get scared of that. So it's a culture that is changing for people down here, that there's a difference, something that you can be part of. Like when I and John were talking, and he now said, you can volunteer to be a police officer. And I said, wow, this is something that really, as an adult, if I can do, I will do. If I have to encourage my neighbor as an African to do, definitely it's a message that we just have to preach. Just like you advise people that watch your left, right, and your back before you cross the road. It's something that if we start the campaign, definitely it will get a good response. And I feel we should do it.
Thank you.
Richie, I'd like to ask if you can think about one barrier that you've noticed and one bridge that you could build, what would that be?
The barrier. It's a government zone. If I say it now, it will be difficult. I think it's difficult to pass the driving test. That is a big barrier, but on the sideline, that is just to be funny. The biggest barrier is, if you go down into communities, true is exposed. There are some communities that you don't know what is happening. Sometimes I just feel that I should not put on the microphone and bring in people just for professionalism's sake. If you hear what people go through as carers, as social workers, you'll be amazed and you wonder what is happening. There's still racism, hate crime are still going on. Yeah, those are the barriers that I feel should be broken. And I beg people to speak out because a lot of people just share this within family meeting and in family tables, it won't be resolved. I feel that if we all speak out and action is taken and people uh, move and know where to get solution, that is a barrier that has been broken. A lot of things are happening with the care workers. As you all, if you all are aware, that a majority of the Africans coming to this part, they goes into the care job, and some do what they call domiciliary. Some are violently attacked and they keep quiet just because they want to keep their job. There's bullying, there's a lot of things that if we sit down to ask questions and we tell people that forget about you losing your job, just talk to us, and people start talking, we'll all shed tears. I feel that is a big barrier that needs to be broken.
Thank you, Richard. And just one final thing before we finish today. Can you share a positive experience where someone's support made a real difference?
I have a lot. I think the Cornish people are nice people, very, very nice. And I've come to realize that if you share your problem with them, you get an immediate solution. In this part, how did I start my program? I had no contact. Someone introduced me to Sandra, the leader of Calabash, and Sandra introduced me to Bev, and that is how African Vibe has gone around the community. The message just keep. It will shock you all that when I started, the Africans were not listening to me. The Cornish people were my biggest audience. They communicate to me, we want to learn about this, we want to learn about this. And when I started doing most of that, Africans now picked up and say, oh, these people are really listening to us. The networking has really helped in keeping me and building me in Cornwall.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you very much for coming along today. It's been really, really insightful. Today we've heard about Richie's journeying down here in Cornwall. We've heard about that cultural integration isn't just about systems, it's about everyday behaviours. And I invite you to commit to one small action you'd like to take into next month. On behalf of everyone here, a huge thank you to Richard for sharing your story. And to all attending, thank you very much for your thoughtful questions and reflections. Thanks again for joining us today. Let's continue the conversation beyond this hour and use what we've heard to guide our daily practice.
Roside, thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you well.
Thank you.
My belly was sweet. Big time.
Thank you all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Someone is asking for my postcode to send your unfinished lunch.
Thank you.
Put it in the chat. Yeah.
All right. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. We'll send you palm wine as well too.
Sure. Come to Cornwall.
Thanks, Richie. Take care. Bye.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye.